I was FaceTiming her. I said, my veins popped on my legs again. She goes, well, let me see. And I showed her with the camera. I said, but the funny thing is, when I run, they go away. So I started running through the house here, and I'm running really fast, and she was laughing. And all of a sudden, my daughter says, hey, listen, you got to get off the phone. It's dinner time. So I said, Pam, I'm going to get off the phone. And I sat down, and I went to eat dinner, and I went to take a bite, and my daughter looked at me and she goes, is there something wrong with my food? I should have said yes, but I didn't. And I said, no, actually, I just don't feel like eating. And I went to take another bite, and I felt something like click in my jaw, and I was like, what was that? And I just didn't feel right. So I went in my room, and I got a blood pressure machine because I had heart arrhythmia. So I went in there, I was born with it. So I went in there, and I checked my blood pressure, and it was 128/72. And I said, that's not too bad. But, I have baby aspirin. I'm on the regimen. I said, I'll take a baby aspirin. So I took the baby aspirin. I came back out, and I went to take another bite of my food, and I still didn't feel like eating. And my daughter had left and went into her bedroom. So I'm sitting out on the couch, and all of a sudden I started getting this pressure in my ears I never had before. I mean, it was excruciating. It was like, if you had swimmer's ear ever, and imagine that thousands of times. I thought my head was going to blow. So I run down into her room quick, and I say, I think I'm having a heart attack. And she's like, no, that's because you were just running through the house, Dad. I said, no, I feel like I'm having a heart attack. So I came back out here, and I sat on the couch, and she came out by me, and I said, call Pam. And she called Pam, and she told Pam the symptoms, and Pam said, get on 911 right now. With that, that pain in my ears went right away, and then I started getting a burning in my throat and a burning in my chest, like someone's taking a blow torch to it.
Oh.
So we're waiting for 911, which took 25 minutes to get here, because we had a snowstorm that day. We had 4 inches come down. It was whiteout conditions here. It was just a freak snowstorm that hit. And I was sitting on the couch and waiting for them to come in. They finally came in. They checked my pulse and everything else. They said, we got to get you out of here now. They put me on a stretcher, got me in the ambulance. We left the driveway here, got down on Route 6, where I'm on the dirt road. So when you come out of the dirt road, you're onto the highway. Got on the highway, and that's when the paramedic said, listen, he goes, I got to shoot you with nitro. I guess he was watching the EKG. He thought I was going to have another heart attack.
Yep.
And so I already had one when he was here. So that was the first one. And then as soon as he shot me with nitro, I felt this sensation come up the back of my neck and went right up to my forehead. And I said, I'm blacking out. And I blacked out. So that's the first time I died. And then they shocked me. It's hard.
I know, bro. I know.
So they shocked me. Yeah, and they brought me back, and it was slipping like a fish. And he said, hey, he goes, calm down. He goes, I just brought you back. And I said, cool. So after that, I'm going down the highway, and I can start seeing through the back of the ambulance signs, the exit signs on Route 84. Needless to say, I had to go to Scranton. So from my house to Scranton was 55 minutes.
Oh,
my God.
You're scared to death. Am I going to make it? Yeah, are you going to make it or what?
Right.
So we get halfway there, and I feel myself blacking out again. I said, I'm going out. And I tell them so they knew, And then I black out. When I blacked out that second time, I went to a place that I saw photographs, like your past and your future, just flashing in front of you slowly. And they're going, I can see when I was a child, and then, animals I had, cars I had, weddings. I had 2 of them already. I saw everything, but it started going really fast to where I couldn't see the pictures no more. They were just flicking past me, like really fast. And then, bam, I was back in the ambulance. They had shocked me again. The third time, I was shocked. I went out just before I got to the Moscow. Moscow, I think is by Scranton, somewhere. I think it's McCobb or something like that is. I was by that exit. And when I went out again, I told them, I said, I'm going out again. I went to this room. It was black and gray, blue and gray. And it's just, there's no distance. It's just you're standing in a room I guess it's a room, but it's actually more of an area with no distance. And there's nothing, like, I've read reports where people say they see mountains, sky, buildings, flowers. I saw nothing. It was just a plain, like you're standing on a piece of paper, actually, that's blue-gray. But the floor underneath me was watery. It was like a watery floor. And I just kept walking, and I'm walking, and I had no sense of distance, time, anything. I remember walking for a while, and I'm like looking, hoping I'd see something, and it was just plain. Everything was just plain. And then, bam, I was back in the ambulance again. And I'm like, wow. So I remember saying to the ambulance driver, how much longer? And they were just looking at me, but they weren't answering me. I'm saying, how much further until we get to the hospital? And I don't think they heard me. And finally, he did answer me about, which felt like eternity. When we got to the hospital, he said to me, we're here. We made it. And I see my daughter's boyfriend pull up with my car. And then I remember going to the ER doors at the hospital, and this is Guy Singer up in Scranton. Mm-hmm. And the ER doctors waved me on. He waved me on into the ER, and I said, bring me in a stretcher. And as soon as he brought me in there, he says, no, do you have family here? I said, yes. And he asked me my name, asked me my daughter's name. And I told him, I said, I'm going out. I'm going to black out. And I blacked out again. And then I woke up again in the ER. I had, it was like just seconds. I was out, so they shocked me. And then I blacked out. I told them I was blacking out again. And they were shocked again. I kept blacking out. And then the last thing I remember was I was in the ER, and I was shocked. I was brought back, and I saw the scissors coming up towards my face. They were cutting my shirt off.
Yeah.
So that time when I finally went back out, I went back up to that bluish-grayish area, and I was up there for a long time. It felt like for eternity, but it was so peaceful and calm when I was up there. It's like I'd never felt it before. It was like there was no time. Like I said, so no flowers. I didn't see birds. I didn't see nothing until I started walking. When I started walking up there, I'd say it was heaven. I don't know if I was in heaven yet, but I was somewhere. I saw, the first thing I saw was these little figures running around. Everything's transparent up there when it goes past you. It was clear, like they're made out of water, and they were running by, and they looked like children. And I could see them, but I couldn't get to them. And every time I walked faster and faster towards them, like I said, you got to remember, you can go left, right, forward, backwards, but you have no sense of direction. Are you going forward? Are you going backward? Are you going side? You don't know which way you're going. You're just walking. And it doesn't, because there's nothing to, aim at. Like, you can't aim at this wall or aim for that wall or that building or something. There's nothing. It's just blank space. And I was walking and I was walking. I'm looking down I could see my shoes, and I just kept walking. And then all of a sudden I see these little figures going back and forth, and I start hearing giggling. They sound like children. And they're giggling and giggling. I said, I said, come to me, let me see you. And nothing would come to me. And then all of a sudden I hear this voice, and they said loud. But the voice sounded like if you and Lauren said the same thing at the same time. It was like a unisex voice. You couldn't tell if it was male or female. So every time I got spoken to and asked a question, I would get a unisex voice response. So it wasn't response like you couldn't tell if it was a male voice or a female voice. It was like two people talking in harmony. And I kept walking towards these kids. And I could tell they were kids because they're small. It was a child's figure, but it was made out of like a watery substance. And I didn't know what to do. You're up there. This is amazing to you, but you're calm. You're peaceful. You feel love. You just feel like it's a play. It's so hard to explain. I never felt it before. And so I just kept walking, and I gave up on the kids because I couldn't catch them. Maybe I chase anything. So they weren't answering me no more, and I started walking, and I'm walking. And it just felt like I was walking forever. So I looked down at my watch, the face of my watch. to see, but time or something. There was no. My watch was on my hand, but there was no face to it. There was no arms. There was no just an empty watch. So I had no sense of time or nothing when I was up there, and I kept walking, and all of a sudden I started seeing what people call, I believe it was an angel. You couldn't see the body of an angel. You couldn't see the wings of the angel. You could only see the bottom half of the wing. And it was, if you take your fingers right now and hold it up and just bend your fingers, that's what you saw the wing on each side, which would be the long end of the feathers, I would assume.
Okay.
So I saw that, and there was hundreds and hundreds of them just all over the place. And no one was talking to me. I was asking questions like, I normally do, and I wasn't getting any answers. So I kept walking, and it just felt like eternity. Like no matter which way I went, I had no bright light. It was a dim lighting. There wasn't, like people tell you in stories, this big bright light popped out at me, and and I saw these flowers, like I said, in hills and all. It was nothing like that. It was just a calming sense. And I was walking, and all of a sudden, this light did show up. Oh. And it was, if you take you take your eye, or a cat's eye, or take your eyelid and all, and turn them upside, turn them like, not, upside, it's up and down, like, like a cat's eye would be.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you're gonna laugh a bit. My daughter says the best way to describe it is like a vagina. That's how she says it.
I understand completely now. It's good.
that's how she said. She said that's how to describe it. But honestly, this light came at me like that, and then it opened up like a pod. And when it opened up, there was a figure in it, a black figure, just standing there, tall black figure. I couldn't make it out. As I walked towards it, it just seemed like distance would keep me the same distance away from it. I couldn't get close to it. And then it spoke to me. And when it spoke to me, it said this to me. It says, in a unisex voice, the same thing, like someone speaking in harmony. It says, I come to you because you believe in me. You are part of me, my kingdom. Let them know I'm with each and every one of you. My love never dies. Now go. And I left. I just turned around away from it, which I figured I was turning around. Like I said, again, you have no sense if you're turning around to what you're doing. Right. And next thing, bam, I'm looking up at my surgeons on the table. And I can see them talking, and they're saying something to me, but I couldn't hear them. And then, bam, I was back up in that area again. And I hear the same voice again come at me and say, I told you to go. And then, bam, I was back down in that table. And Dr. Lowen, my cardiologist, was looking at me, and he's saying, Steve, can you hear me? Can you hear me? If you can hear me, do something. And so I raised both thumbs because I could hear them. Yeah. And they all clapped and in the room. And I'll get to you why they clapped. Next thing you know, I woke up. From there, I was in ICU with a ventilating tube in me, and I had Flip and Anthony with a camera filming me, which was very funny. This is how crazy our team is. I wake up in ICU, and there's Anthony with one of our video cameras filming me waking up in ICU. Yeah, I made it. I had made it. I went back to the hospital several times after the operation. I mean, they put a stent in me and cleared it. And when I was in the hospital, all the cardiologists came up to my room. There was 6 of them that worked on me that day to save me. How about a minute?
Yep. It's okay, buddy.
Yeah. 6 of them came up, and they said I shouldn't be here. And they said, there's no way. They said, everything is against you. You had the snowstorm. It's a miracle. They said, you were without oxygen for at least 7 minutes. You should have had brain damage. The brain starts dying 30 seconds after your heart stops.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Wow.
But